Welcome to Module 4. This is the Know Your Asset module. In this module, we're going to be getting to know the Polaris Slingshot a little bit more. An asset, in the simplest terms, can be defined as something that puts money into your pocket. A liability, in the simplest terms, can be defined as something that takes money out of your pocket. So with these two terms clearly defined, we can determine that a Polaris Slingshot is an asset. To elaborate further on this matter, if you bought a Polaris Slingshot for leisure and stored it in your garage and only used it on the weekends as a hobby, then this would actually be considered a liability because you would be forced to use your paycheck or your earned income to cover the expenses to keep this vehicle at your disposal for fun. So that means that your paycheck, the money that comes from, you working, you would need to use that in order to cover your car note and your car insurance and gas and any other expenses that comes from maintaining the ownership of a Polaris Slingshot. Now, on the contrary, if you financed the Polaris Slingshot by using business credit and you decided to rent it out daily for commercial use, then this would actually result in business revenue. And that would be used to cover the monthly car note, the insurance, gas, maintenance, and whatever else that was needed. And whatever is left over after those expenses is pure profit. So this would actually be considered an asset because it's putting money in your pocket instead of taking money out of your pocket. You are about to invest into a Polaris Slingshot, but before you spend any money on this asset, you need to know the ins and outs of a Polaris Slingshot. So the Polaris Slingshot is a 3-wheel vehicle, as I mentioned earlier. So you do not need a motorcycle license in order to operate this vehicle. It actually depends on the state that you're in, but a majority of the 50 states, you don't need a motorcycle license. So it does not follow the standards of an automobile standard or regulations. So in the state of Florida, the minimum age in order to operate a Slingshot is 21 years old. I highly recommend that you figure out the state regulations for the specific state that you live in. The Polaris Slingshot can go up to 120 miles per hour and has an unmatched performance and a very unique cockpit feel. So earlier I was showing you that it's a 2-seater, that the seats are very, built for performance, and that there's no roof, no doors, and no airbags, okay? So you also want to keep that in mind. So the idea of the Slingshot was first conceived in 2010, and they actually quickly got the prototype into production in 2014. So the first model actually came out in 2015, and it was the S and the SL model. Later on in 2020 model year, the Polaris actually redesigned their entire engine in-house and designed it to a 2.0 liter. So this engine is not any new concept. It's actually a General Motors engine that's built to last upwards of 100,000 miles. So what you want to do is you want to check the Department of Transportation in order to know if your state requires that you wear a helmet. So obviously a helmet is recommended, but in some states it's not a requirement. I know that in Georgia it is a requirement, versus Florida, it's not a requirement. So you definitely want to check out those regulations before moving forward.